Before we begin, let me invite you into a quiet space, a moment just for you. This is a story where the world slows down and the noise of everyday life fades away. A story that asks nothing of you except to listen, relax, and embrace the comfort of simplicity. You won't find anything extraordinary in this tale, just the beauty of a peaceful, ordinary life. The kind of life that can sometimes go unnoticed, but is, in its own way, perfect. So, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let the world outside gently fade away as we begin this journey together. Hello, my friend. Welcome to your sleep story. My name is John Mario, and I'm an Irish storyteller. It's my privilege to be the voice you hear as you fall asleep tonight. Sometimes, the most mundane and ordinary things are the best to listen to as you drift off. So, I decided to write a story about a very boring person, possibly the most boring man in the world. Welcome to this new series. Please feel free to comment and share your thoughts, even if it's just one word. You can also tell me where you are in the world and what time it is as you listen. Let's start with a relaxation session that will take a few minutes before tonight's sleep story. I will count down from 10 to 1. As I do, allow yourself to relax more and more. 10. Feel the support beneath you, whether it's your bed, the floor, or whatever you're lying on tonight. As you become aware of the support, try to feel the deeper, constant support of the earth beneath everything. Let that awareness help you release the tension and say goodbye to the day. If your eyes aren't closed yet, maybe now is the time to do so. 11. You are safe. Let my voice be your friend tonight, guiding you with kindness, leading you to safe places. Feel the growing sense of safety and let it help you relax. 12. The day is done. Whatever happened has happened, and whatever will happen will happen. You may still have thoughts entering your mind, but try not to follow them. Instead, just observe them and let them drift away like leaves on a river or clouds in the sky. 13. This is your time. You deserve it. Let yourself enjoy this moment. Become aware of your body and any tension you might be holding, whether it's in your feet, legs, hands, or face. Let it all go now. 14. Peace lives within you. I promise it does. Begin to let go and try to feel the peace within. It's there, waiting for you to discover it. 15. As you move closer to deep rest, know that you have nothing to carry, nowhere to go, and nothing to do. Let this realization help you rest even deeper. 16. Perhaps feel some gratitude now. Be thankful for the simple things: your shelter tonight, the breath in your body, and the people you love. 17. Begin to engage with your imagination now. Picture a very ordinary house in a regular street on a rainy day. In this house, a very ordinary man sits in his ordinary living room. He does little with his time and is perfectly content with that. 18. Check in with your body one more time. It has worked hard for you today, and now it's time to rest. Let go completely. Now, let me tell you tonight's sleep story. It's another boring day in the very boring life of the most boring man in the world. This isn't a judgment. He would tell you himself that his life is incredibly boring. That doesn't mean he isn't happy or doesn't enjoy himself. But boring would be the best word to describe his day. I won't tell you his name because it's too boring. I won't tell you what he had for breakfast either because it's boring. But I will tell you that he ate it in exactly 6 minutes and 24 seconds. Sitting at the same spot at the kitchen table, facing a beige wall. The wallpaper had once had a pattern, but he painted over it years ago because he found the pattern too exciting. His spoon made the same sound it always did: clink, clink, scrape. Clinked, scrape. Clinked, and then he rinsed it under the tap with such minimal enthusiasm that it was almost unnoticeable. He placed it on the draining board in exactly the same spot as every day, which had developed a faint spoon-shaped dent, as if the countertop had grown tired of the routine. Outside, the rain came down steadily, not too heavy, not too light, just enough to make you sigh, not from sadness, but from its constant, gray stretch. He didn't look at it. He didn't think about it. He had long since accepted rain as something that happened and needed no reaction. The most boring man in the world had a job, of course. It involved spreadsheets, paper clips, and a chair that squeaked exactly once at 11:43 a.m. and never again. But today was his day off, so he stayed at home, doing nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing exciting. And certainly nothing that would cause even the smallest spark of interest in a passerby. At 9:01 a.m., 1 minute behind schedule due to a slightly overfilled kettle, he walked into his living room, sat in the brown chair, not the green one, which was too lively, and stared at the blank TV screen. He didn't turn it on yet. He would do so in exactly 14 minutes, not to watch anything, but to listen to the low hum of the news while doing a jigsaw puzzle. He didn't particularly like jigsaw puzzles, but he didn't dislike them either. It was the ideal activity, something that neither stirred nor stilled, that passed the time without engaging with it. The puzzle pieces were all shades of gray, and a note on the box promised no distinguishing features. This is exactly why he bought it. The corner pieces went in first, of course, placed in their traditional positions months ago and never moved. At 9:25 a.m., the TV flickered to life at volume level 9, not 10. Never 10. A presenter with a bright voice announced something about the weather or waffles. But he wasn't really listening. He just liked the sound of it. By 9:36 a.m., he was pouring his second cup of tea using the same mug he always used on a Thursday, even though it was Wednesday. A mild disruption, but not enough to be alarming. He stood in the kitchen, staring at the rain outside, not because he was interested, but because it was something to do. The rain stared back, not interested in stopping, and he wasn't interested in making it. He returned to the brown chair, resumed the puzzle, and found a piece that didn't fit. He tried it in different ways, but it still didn't fit. Eventually, he gave up, set it down, and tried another piece, which fit right away. Though he didn't celebrate it, at 10:03 a.m., the phone rang. This was unusual. He almost never got calls unless it was a wrong number or a boring survey about bins. He considered not answering, but then he remembered that he always answered on the third ring. So, on the third ring, he picked it up and said yeah. The voice on the other end was thin, slightly damp, like it had been left out in the rain. "Hello, sir. I'm calling from the council about your bins," it said. This was a satisfactory reason to receive a call, and he nodded, even though the voice couldn't see him. The voice continued, talking about adjusted collection schedules and a new leaflet. He absent-mindedly looked down at his feet. His slippers were the same gray ones he always wore, with small embroidered R&L on them, so he could avoid excitement. But something was odd. One slipper looked puffier than the other. He tilted his head, trying to figure out why. Could a foot change size without telling you? He wasn't sure, but he made a mental note to investigate later, possibly after tea or next Tuesday. After the call ended, he put the phone down, stared at his mismatched slippers, and decided to swap them to see what would happen. The result was disconcerting. The other foot now looked wrong. He stared at them for a while but didn't know what to make of it. Eventually, he gave up and returned them to their proper positions with slow, careful reverence. He walked to the window, not out of curiosity, but because it was something to do. The window overlooked a street that had once been described as adequate. There were bins, cars that hadn't moved in a while, and a tree that had given up on branching out. A cat walked by, looking like it was late for nothing. He admired its efficiency. The rain continued just as before. He turned away from the window, went back to the kitchen, filled the kettle again, not because he needed more tea, but because the sound of boiling water gave the illusion of something happening. While it boiled, he looked at the calendar on the wall. There was a circled date. He couldn't remember why. He stared at it, then longer. Was it a dentist appointment? He couldn't remember. The kettle clicked off, but he didn't move. He stared at the circled date. Eventually, he poured his tea, stirred it with the same spoon, and went back to the brown chair. He stood beside it, cradling the mug, looking down at the cushion, which had a faint dent in the shape of his bottom. He stared at it for a moment, before sitting down, slightly off-center, just enough to make it feel different. He finished his tea slowly, not in a hurry, and when he was done, he took the mug with him, not because it was a bold decision, but because it just happened. He wandered down the hall to the spare room, a room he rarely visited. It smelled a little different in there. He sat on the edge of the bed, placed the mug beside him, just out of reach. He looked around at the room, at the curtains that allowed a slice of gray light to fall across the carpet. He picked up a book from the shelf, opened it, saw the word historical in the middle, and closed it again. He lay back on the bed, not to nap, not to think, just to lie down. The bed felt different from the brown chair, flatter, less committed. He stared at the ceiling, which had a tiny crack, maybe from last time or maybe new. Either way, it didn't matter. And then, for no particular reason at all, he smiled, just a little, enough for him to feel it, but not enough for anyone to notice. After a while, he stood, stretched, finished his tea, and went back to the kitchen. He checked the clock, not because he needed to, but because he always did. He opened the fridge, found some leftover macaroni, microwaved it, and ate it at the kitchen table, facing the beige wall outside. The rain continued, slowing down, or maybe not. He finished his dinner, rinsed the bowl, and placed it exactly where the breakfast bowl had been. He looked at the draining board and gave a small nod, confirming that the day had indeed been lived. He brushed his teeth with the efficiency of a man who knew exactly how long it should take, and then he made his way to the bedroom. The room was cool and still. He got into bed without ceremony, pulling the blanket up to his chest and folding his arms the way he had done every night for years. But tonight, he left the curtain open a crack, just enough to see the pale glimmer of a street lamp and the water falling down the window. And as he lay there, perfectly still, he thought that maybe today had been just slightly different. Then he closed his eyes. He didn't fall asleep right away, but something about the room felt a little warmer, not in temperature but in tone. The distant ticking of the hallway clock, the familiar creak of the wardrobe, and the rain outside, all of it sounded just slightly more agreeable than usual. He shifted once, then again, then settled. His feet found a comfortable position almost immediately, and the pillow felt just right. He stared up at the ceiling, letting his eyes grow heavy. He thought about nothing in particular. And then, quietly, he smiled again, a real smile this time. Small, but unmistakable dot in the middle of a rainy day, in the middle of an ordinary week, in the middle of a perfectly boring life. He realized that he was quite content. And with that, he peacefully drifted off to sleep. The most boring man in the world, wrapped in the quiet joy of his uneventful day, fell asleep easily and peacefully.